They drain your energy, they twist your words, they smile in your face, yet secretly desire your downfall. What if I told you Machiavelli already knew how to deal with these people centuries ago, and his way wasn't through kindness, but through power? In a world ruled by power, perception is your armor, and emotion is the crack that betrays you. When a toxic person enters your life, they do not come with a sword in hand. They come smiling, flattering, pretending to understand you. Beneath that smile lies a hidden motive: control. They want your energy, your attention, your reaction. And the moment you react, they win. You see, the greatest mistake of good people is believing that others play by the same moral code. Machiavelli understood that this is rarely true. He once wrote that men are more easily deceived by appearances than by reality, and that truth alone is rarely enough to protect you. What protects you is how you are perceived. The toxic thrive in emotional chaos, but a Machiavellian mind thrives in control. Your weapon is not anger, it is composure. When they provoke you, when they insult you subtly, when they twist your words, they are not seeking truth. They are seeking reaction. They want to drag you into the mud of their own instability. Because once you are emotional, you become predictable. You say things you regret. You reveal what hurts you, and in that moment, they own you. Every word they throw is a hook, and every time you respond emotionally, you pull the hook deeper into your skin. Therefore, Machiavelli would advise, do not react, observe. Let them speak. Let them rant, accuse, or gossip. And while they do, remain still. Look into their eyes and say nothing. Let silence be your shield and curiosity be your disguise. The more silent you become, the more powerful you appear. The toxic person will grow uncomfortable. They will search for the weakness they cannot find. Your calm will frustrate them. Your stillness will expose their chaos. In their attempt to control you, they will reveal themselves. Remember, perception is a theater, and you are both the actor and the director. The world does not see your intentions. It sees your performance. So when the toxic person tries to paint you as unstable, arrogant, or cruel, respond not with defense, with discipline. Let your actions show balance. Let your presence speak control. The wise do not explain themselves. They let the results explain for them. Machiavelli understood this principle deeply in the courts of Florence. He saw princes who lost their thrones not because they lacked intelligence, but because they could not master their emotions. A single outburst destroyed alliances. Single insult created an enemy. One moment of rage could undo years of strategy. And yet, the ones who endured, the cunning, the composed, they ruled by perception. They allowed others to believe they were merciful when they were merely calculating. They appeared kind while they positioned their power. When dealing with toxic people, do the same. Appear calm even when you are studying every move. Speak softly, but never reveal too much. Show interest, but keep your true thoughts concealed. Your emotional control must become legendary, a mystery they can never solve. Because once they realize they cannot disturb your peace, they lose the very weapon they rely on. Understand, the toxic are emotional opportunists. They feed on drama because it gives them significance. They use guilt to weaken you, pity to manipulate you, anger to confuse you. But none of this works on the Machiavellian mind. Because you do not fight emotion with emotion. You fight it with perception. You craft how you are seen so that their words lose power. You learn to play the long game, where silence and patience are worth more than revenge. There will be moments when every part of you wants to respond, to defend your name, to prove your innocence, to expose their lies. But remember this, those who truly hold power do not chase validation. The moment you try to convince a toxic person of your truth, you step into their arena. And that arena is built on emotion. Instead, rise above it. Keep your tone measured. Speak only when it serves your purpose. The less they know what you feel, the more they fear what you think. When you master perception, you become unreadable. And when you are unreadable, you are untouchable. Toxic lose their grip. They will gossip, they will twist your words, they will attempt to provoke. But you will no longer be on their level. You will have ascended from reaction to observation, from emotion to power. You become like the prince who smiles at his enemies at dinner, knowing that none of them truly understand how deep his mind runs beneath the calm. Remember, the art of perception is not pretending to feel nothing. It is choosing when, how, and to whom you reveal your feelings. The toxic must never see your fear, your anger, or your desperation. They must see only what you allow. You do not lie, you direct, you do not hide, you control what is visible. Like a strategist moving pieces on a chessboard, every expression, every silence, every reaction becomes deliberate. The more disciplined your performance, the more powerless your opponent becomes. You must understand, in this game of human nature, power does not belong to the loudest. It belongs to the most controlled. The one who remains calm while others fall into emotion becomes the invisible ruler of the room. And that is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "It is not reality that governs men, but the image of it." When a toxic person enters your life, they come with one goal: dominance. They will not admit it, but every manipulation, every rumor, every small act of deceit serves a purpose to establish control. They thrive when they can pull your strings, when they can decide how you feel, how you respond, how you see yourself. But a Machiavellian mind never gives them that privilege. You see, power is not taken by confrontation, it is shifted by perception. Machiavelli understood that direct war exhausts resources, while subtle control wins empires. When you confront a toxic person head-on, you feed their ego. You give them what they crave, your attention. But when you quietly reposition yourself, when you alter the flow of dependence, you take back the throne without them even realizing it. The art of dealing with toxic people is not to destroy them, it is to make them orbit around you. You must first study their hunger. Every toxic person is driven by something: validation, gossip, status, control, or fear. Find their source of power and do not attack it directly. Instead, offer it strategically. Give them fragments of what they crave, but make it clear that it comes through you. If they need recognition, give them just enough to taste it, never enough to feel secure. If they desire information, share pieces, never the full truth. Let them believe they are included. Keep the real plan hidden behind your silence. They will believe they are winning, but in truth, they are being guided. Machiavelli once wrote that it is safer to be feared than loved, but wiser to be needed than both. The toxic cannot harm what they depend on. When they realize their access to influence, approval, or connection comes through you, their power collapses. You have not attacked them. You have rearranged the chessboard. This is how a prince handles an enemy within his court, not with fury, but with architecture. Let us imagine you work beside a toxic colleague, manipulative, smiling in meetings yet sabotaging in whispers. The average person would confront them, argue, expose their lies. But a Machiavellian would not. He would first observe their alliances. Who listens to them? Who empowers them? Then, slowly, he would make himself useful to those same people. He would offer solutions, trust, gain quiet influence. And when the moment comes, the toxic person's themselves isolated, stripped of credibility, while you rise effortlessly. They are defeated, not through war, but through irrelevance. Who'd every toxic dynamic, there is a balance of dependency. They feed on you, your time, your emotions. The moment you reverse this flow, you control the power dynamic. Stop chasing clarity. Stop defending yourself. Instead, make them uncertain. Confuse them with calmness. Give vague answers, controlled smiles, short replies. They will feel the shift immediately. Their tricks no longer work. Their control no longer lands. They will try harder, but every attempt will expose their desperation. The stronger they chase control, the weaker they become. Machiavelli's wisdom was never about cruelty. It was about efficiency. He understood that dominance is rarely achieved through violence. It is achieved through structure. When you remove access, you remove leverage. You do not block them out in anger. You fade out strategically. You redirect your time, your attention, your influence toward what cannot be controlled by them. And soon, they realize they no longer have an audience. You have silenced their relevance without saying a word. The power dynamic is not changed by force. It is changed by position. If they think they hold authority over you, for now, pretend to play their game. Compliment them subtly. Acknowledge their ego. Every act of flattery lowers their guard. The more they underestimate you, the easier it becomes to move unseen. The moment they trust your obedience, you position yourself where their downfall will no longer affect you. This is not deception. It is protection through intelligence. Understand this. Toxic people need an audience to survive. They need someone to validate their drama, to respond to their chaos, to mirror their insecurity. Remove that mirror, offer indifference, and they crumble. When they see you unbothered, focused, and detached, they begin to lose their confidence. They will start to question their power. They will start to fear your silence. For the toxic, silence is not peace. It is punishment. Machiavelli believed that the prince must learn to use both the fox and the lion. Cunning and strength. Against toxic people, cunning is your armor. You must become unpredictable. Show warmth when they expect resistance. Show indifference when they expect emotion. Keep them uncertain about your next move. The toxic thrive in clarity. Take that from them. Give them no pattern, no reaction, no consistency they can exploit. Make them guess, and in that guessing, they lose control. When you manipulate the power dynamic, you do not destroy your enemies, you domesticate them. You turn their arrogance into obedience, their manipulation into dependence. They become pawns in your strategy, believing they are players. This is how rulers survive, by controlling not the person, but the structure that person depends on. When a toxic person realizes they cannot control you, they will try to control others. But once you have shifted the center of influence, their words fall into empty air. They will talk, but no one will listen. They will plot, their plots will die before they reach you. The toxic person's greatest fear is not being exposed. It is being ignored. When you master the art of quiet control, when you no longer respond, when your position is untouchable, you force them into irrelevance. They crave to be the storm, but you become the sky, vast, still, and unmoved. That is the Machiavellian way to manipulate the power dynamic. You remain unseen, but always in command. In the art of power, not every battle is fought with words, nor every victory seen by the eye. Machiavelli understood that silence is not weakness. It is warfare without blood. And distance, when used with mastery, becomes the most elegant form of domination. The toxic person feeds on reaction. They provoke, not to understand you, but to measure your control. They thrive when you answer, when you explain, when you justify. But when you give them nothing, when you remove access to your emotion, your attention, your time, you become untouchable. When you go silent, you disrupt their rhythm. You remove the oxygen from their fire. Every toxic person craves to be seen, to be heard, to be acknowledged, even through conflict. They seek validation in chaos, but silence denies them that nourishment. Machiavelli would say, "A prince who knows when to remain silent holds more authority than a king who shouts." For silence breeds curiosity, and curiosity is the seed of power. The less you speak, the more they wonder what you are thinking. The less you react, the more they fear what you might do next. In Florence, Machiavelli observed that the most feared men were not the loudest generals or the boldest politicians, but those who spoke little, who watched much, and who acted rarely but decisively. Their silence was not emptiness, it was calculation. Every quiet moment was a trap being built. Every distance kept was a line drawn between the powerful and the powerless. You must learn this discipline: to hold your tongue when your pride demands to speak, and to step back when your heart wants to confront, because every step back in silence is not retreat, it is repositioning. When a toxic person realizes they can no longer access your emotions, they panic. They will accuse you of coldness, of arrogance, of betrayal. They will beg, provoke, insult, anything to make you break your silence, because your quietness exposes their weakness. They are forced to face themselves. They can no longer hide behind your reaction. Silence is a mirror, and most people cannot bear to look into it. Do not mistake silence for passivity. It is an active force, a psychological weapon. You are teaching them a lesson without saying a word: that their control has ended. Every time you respond to their provocation, you tell them their behavior matters. But every time you stay silent, you show them it no longer does. This realization breaks them more than confrontation ever could. Because in silence, they must sit with the truth that they no longer have power over you. Machiavelli believed that presence was currency. The more you give it, the less it's worth. Toxic people understand this instinctively. They demand your presence. They want to drag you into conversations that go nowhere, arguments that solve nothing, emotional games that leave you drained. But a Machiavellian mind is not generous with attention. You give it only when it benefits your strategy. You withdraw when it strengthens your control. Every absence becomes a statement. Every moment of distance becomes a lesson. There is an art to distance. It must be precise. Too much and you seem cold, too little and you remain accessible. The secret lies in controlled absence. Be present enough to remain relevant, but distant enough to be desired. Speak rarely, and your words will carry weight. Step away strategically, and your absence will echo louder than any speech. The toxic person will sense your withdrawal and interpret it as punishment. They will chase the connection they once took for granted. They will begin to compete for what they once dismissed. You have not argued. You have rebalanced the power. Machiavelli once observed that men respect what they cannot easily reach. The same applies here. When you create distance, you elevate yourself. You become scarce, and scarcity breeds value. The toxic person cannot destroy what they cannot touch. So you stop defending, you stop explaining, you stop giving access to your emotions. You allow silence to speak for you. You let them feel your absence, and in that emptiness, they meet the consequences of their own behavior. No words, no confrontation, just quiet power. Silence is also a test. It shows you who depends on your energy to exist. Some will fall away when you stop feeding their ego. Let them, the ones who remain in your silence. Those are the ones who understand your value without constant reassurance, but the toxic will reveal themselves quickly. Their desperation for response will expose their dependency. They will gossip, invent stories, and try to provoke others against you. Because silence terrifies them, it reminds them that they never had true control. In silence, you force truth to surface. Those who are loyal stay steady. Those who are false reveal their agitation. Machiavelli would smile at this, because he knew that distance unmasked people faster than interrogation ever could. You do not need to ask them who they are, just step back, and they will show you. The toxic cannot survive without an audience. When you remove yourself, you remove their stage. There will be moments when silence feels heavy, when your instincts scream to respond, to clarify, to prove your side. Resist it. Every moment of silence builds discipline. Every second of distance teaches you self-mastery. In that restraint, your power grows. The more you can stay composed while others unravel, the closer you move toward the Machiavellian principle of control. That true strength is never in the reaction, but in the restraint. You must learn to make silence your language and distance your strategy. It confuses your enemies, preserves your dignity, and commands respect. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them talk into the void. While they drown in noise, you will move in quiet precision, because every word you do not speak becomes energy saved. Every step you take away becomes power reclaimed, and every pause you hold becomes a declaration of your sovereignty. In the game of power, even poison has value, if you know how to use it. Machiavelli understood that wisdom is not born from comfort but from conflict, that every betrayal, every insult, every act of deceit carries within it a lesson that the wise man extracts and the fool rejects. When you deal with toxic people, the instinct is to curse them, to hate them, to wish they had never entered your life. But the Machiavellian mind sees differently. It studies them. It dissects their behavior. It learns the anatomy of their poison. Because within that poison lies the knowledge of survival. The toxic person exposes what others hide. They reveal the envy, the manipulation, the hunger for power that most disguise beneath manners. They become your unintentional teacher. Every lie they tell you teaches you to detect deception faster. Every attempt to control you sharpens your understanding of influence. Every betrayal reminds you of where you left your guard down. The Machiavellian mind never wastes pain. It recycles it into strength. Consider this. The toxic person who mocked you showed you your sensitivity to judgment. The one who betrayed you showed you your misplaced trust. The one who tried to control you showed you where your boundaries were weak. Their behavior, their cruelty, their venom, all of it reveals your weaknesses more clearly than any friend ever could. And once you see your weakness, you can transform it. You become immune to the same poison that once hurt you. Machiavelli observed that the wise ruler learns more from his enemies than from his allies, because allies comfort you, but enemies sharpen you. Toxic people are your mirror in disguise. They reflect the hidden parts of yourself that you have not yet mastered. Do they make you angry? Then they control your peace. Do they make you feel small? Then you've forgotten your worth. Do they make you doubt your voice? Then you've surrendered your power of perception. But once you see these things, you can reclaim them. Their poison shows you where your armor must be reinforced. When Machiavelli wrote The Prince, he did not glorify cruelty. He exposed it. He wanted the reader to understand the raw mechanisms of power, that people will manipulate, deceive, betray, and that knowing this truth makes you strong, not bitter. The toxic person plays the same role in your life. They show you reality without its mask. They remind you that the world is not kind by default, that power must be protected, and that your emotions are doors you must learn to lock. Instead of seeking revenge, learn. Instead of hating, observe. When they gossip about you, study their strategy. When they lie to you, watch how they craft their story. When they manipulate, notice the tools they use: guilt, flattery, fear. The next time someone tries the same, you will see it coming before it even begins. You become what Machiavelli admired most, a master of human nature. You no longer react to deceit, you recognize it. You no longer fear betrayal, you anticipate it. Most people waste years fighting their enemies, but the Machiavellian mind turns every encounter into training. When someone betrays you, they give you knowledge about trust. When someone disrespects you, they reveal their character and yours. When someone tries to manipulate you, they unknowingly hand you a map of their desires. Their actions are not random, they are clues. And the one who reads these clues learns how to navigate the world with unshakable clarity. There is a hidden truth Machiavelli would whisper to those who could understand. Power is not built in peace, but in resistance. You cannot learn resilience from loyalty alone. You cannot learn strategy from those who love you unconditionally. It is the toxic ones, the jealous, the deceitful, the controlling, who force you to evolve. They push you to develop patience, restraint, foresight. Without their challenges, your strength would remain untested, your wisdom theoretical. Their poison becomes your purification. To turn poison into power is to refuse victimhood. The toxic person wants to make you reactive, emotional, helpless, a pawn in their theater. But the moment you observe them like a specimen, you strip them of control. You no longer see them as a threat, as material, a case study in the psychology of manipulation. Every word they say becomes data. Every tactic they use becomes predictable. You ascend from the emotional battlefield to the strategic balcony, watching from above as they exhaust themselves in futility. Machiavelli would tell you that every pain carries profit, if you are clever enough to extract it. The betrayal that broke your trust now sharpens your discernment. The humiliation that wounded your pride now fortifies your humility. The rejection that crushed your confidence now teaches you detachment. Every scar becomes a strategy. You begin to move through the world differently, calmer, more deliberate, impossible to provoke. Because you no longer see pain as punishment, you see it as preparation. The toxic person gives you what no friend can: exposure to darkness. They teach you to see manipulation before it forms, deceit before it spreads, danger before it strikes. You begin to sense energy, motives, tone. You start to notice what others miss. You learn to control your reactions, your impulses, your trust. Their poison, instead of destroying you, becomes your immunity. You drink it in small doses, study its effects, and walk away stronger. You become immune to the very forces that once controlled you. This is the Machiavellian alchemy, turning every wound into wisdom, every betrayal into awareness, every poison into strength. Because when you understand the nature of toxicity, you are no longer afraid of it. You have mastered its language. You have learned to absorb what was meant to break you and transform it into quiet, unshakable power. In the court of life, you will meet many faces. Charming liars, fragile egos, hidden enemies dressed as allies. They will test you, provoke you, tempt you into reaction. But remember what Machiavelli taught. The world is not changed by those who shout the loudest, but by those who master themselves. Power does not come from dominance, it comes from discipline. The one who rules his emotions rules every interaction. You have learned the laws: perception over emotion, the art of calm when others lose control, manipulating the power dynamic, reshaping relationships so that no one can control you, weaponizing distance and silence, using absence as authority, and turning poison into power, transforming pain into wisdom, betrayal into strength. These are not just lessons of survival. They are the foundations of control. The Machiavellian does not seek peace by begging for it. He creates peace by mastering his battlefield. Understand, toxic people will always exist. You cannot rid the world of them, but you can render them powerless. You can train your mind to see their games as patterns, not threats. You can walk through their chaos without losing your center. And when you no longer react, you no longer feed their power. You become the stillness that unsettles their storm. Machiavelli believed that power is not given, it is crafted, forged in silence, polished by observation, and protected by restraint. When you learn to stand calm in the presence of manipulation, you rise above the reach of ordinary minds. You no longer chase approval. You no longer fight noise. You become the unseen force, feared, respected, unprovoked.